I have known each other for quite a while because before he was with the Aggies, he was with the Spurs for a long time and was a guest on my previous show. So, Andrew Monaco, we are so glad to have you here on this Thursday. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. And this world is better when Amy's on and we get to listen to you. Howdy, neighbor.
Hello. It's so funny because every time I'm in College Station to do grocery shopping or my husband's got some medical stuff up there too, I always think of you. Like, I wonder how close I am to Andrew and where he is in this city.
I'm going to send you the address so you could just drop the pin and you can come by before you're doing all those things.
Nice. Well, I was just lamenting a little bit this August, as it were, here in the great state of Texas and how I don't know that I'll ever adjust, but I've also noticed I go outside a lot less. So people keep asking me, have you acclimated? What does that mean? How does one acclimate to this heat?
Nah, I don't know. You're talking to someone who, before he moved to San Antonio and here to college, I was in Orlando, so I never had to press a shirt, Amy. The wrinkles just magically came out. Yeah. So, no, having grown up in Pennsylvania, I got out of the Northeast and I've never gone back. So I guess it's just, you just know that fall will hit sometime around November. You just have to realize it.
All right, never mind. Can we get rid of Andrew? Sorry, we're having technical difficulties. Oh, Zach. Oh my gosh.
Once it gets its grip, it doesn't let go. That's for sure.
Oh my goodness. So I kind of feel like, and people have said this to me too, is that Texas makes you tougher. The weather, the critters, Texas makes you tougher. So I can imagine that works for a lot of the football teams too. How often are the Aggies outside? Do they ever spend time inside so that they're not in the extreme heat?
No, here's what's interesting. Last year, Mike Elko asked the team, do you want to practice more in the indoors? And the team said no. They wanted to be outdoors. Yeah, they practice outdoors a lot. Now, they're very smart. Obviously, with this heat, you have to be really careful. The hydration is a big, big, big part of it. And it always has been, but it's, at the forefront now. But yeah, like a lot of times they'll warm up in the indoor and then they're on the outdoor for the 2.5 hours of camp. And again, let's be honest, Missouri State's going to be at 6, and it gets hot there. Arizona State in week 2 is 11 o'clock, which really surprised me because we try to keep those September games at as much at night as possible, but TV dictates your start times. But no, it's the players who have said they want to be outside, and Mike took that as a very good sign for that team.
And it's so much about the technology now, too, the way they monitor players, whether they take those baseline types of readings with their hearts and all that kind of stuff. And then they have the technology that can let the trainers and the athletic training staff know if something's going wrong. So that is one benefit. But I know it's a lot of hoops for these guys to jump through, too, where they're constantly being monitored and everybody can follow what's going on with their biometrics.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of technology, right? You can find it. You don't have to react after the fact. Okay, he's overheating. Get him now. Get it, and I was joking with Jacob Green, former D lineman here in Seattle Seahawk, just an absolute great. He and Dave Elmendorf, my partner, they talked about during their times at camp and in football where water was a punishment. You were weak if you took water. Now all you hear is hydrate, hydrate. Yeah.
Well, that's where I am. I go outside and play with the dogs every day when the show is done. And those 15 minutes or so make me definitely need my electrolytes and my hydration. So I'm with them. And I wouldn't say I love to run, but there is coming up a half marathon. I've done almost 10 of them in my life. And there's one in December in College Station. So I'm actually wanting to train for that. But heck, if I know when I'm supposed to run right now in this kind of heat without passing out. So
it's not like you could just run in December. You've got to train for it. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. I do.
Hopefully you can find a whole lot of shade. Maybe that will help a little bit. Even the shade doesn't help.
So you bring up Mike Elko, an 11-0 start in his second year. He's rewarded, in a spot in the college football playoff. He's rewarded with a contract extension, but also, hey, coach, your 2 coordinators are going to go find other jobs. So how have you seen that adjustment start to play out where it's still the same head coach, but different voices on either side of the ball?
Yeah. Now, the good thing is Holman Wiggins on the offensive side had the wide receivers. So that's not new for them. The other thing that I think is really important, Amy, is Marcel Reed at quarterback does not have to learn a new language and new terminology. I think that's very important. Now, Holman's not going to do the same things that Colin Klein did, but there's going to be a lot of similarities there from what they have run in the past. I think that is important. As you know, that's sometimes a reason why a quarterback will struggle is because they are starting from day one with the rest of the offense. Here, Marcel gets to pick up where he left off as the leader of this offense, as the leader of this team, and he's got respect on both sides of the ball, that's for sure. And wonderful for Colin Klein to go back home. And he said, look, if I ever get a chance to come back, I would love to. I hope Colin never comes back. I hope he's successful. A quality human being, you know, you've been around him. He's just outstanding, and I wish him the best. And I'm so glad that K-State gave him that opportunity. Luke Hemphill takes over on defense. Now, in fairness, and this is not a shot to he nor to Jay Bateman, Mike will have his hands on that defense. So that's, you know, every head coach has something, whether they're on the offensive side, defensive side. The old safeties coach in Mike Elko will always have his hands on that. So I think it's as, I don't want to say seamless, but it's as seamless I think you could get in that change of coordinators. And that is an important part, I think, in college football. And Mike Elko has said this. He wants his coaches to want to be coordinators, and he wants those coordinators to be head coaches. And sometimes it's not at the program. And now it's up to the head coach to bring in the right people. That has stymied some head coaches in the past. You have to know who's next. And I don't think you take it as a negative. And I think that's one of the many things that impresses me about Mike Elko is he's on top of things like that, not anticipating they're going to go. But, you know, successful teams lose their coach.
Yes. They lose players too, right?
Yes,
they lose players as well with the transfer portal and, of course, the NFL draft.
Correct.
Taking a bunch of the guys along the line. Before we talk about the new O-line, though, for some reason, Marcel Reed really incites a lot of emotion from people, and they tend to be polar opposites. Either people love what he brings to the table and his skill set, and they see the value in a quarterback who's unique like he does, or it's the opposite, where he's not an elite QB. So this year, as you talk about proven leader, unquestioned leader of this team and the offense, and has at least some consistency, even with the changes, what does he need to do to take his game to the next level?
Yeah, I think it's now, and I understood when Mike said it last year that Marcel understands what it means to be the number one quarterback for an SEC team. Remember, he battled Connor Wigman. Connor got hurt. Connor won it as he should have, but then Marcel had to take over. Now, his first game at Florida in Gainesville, Mike told him he was starting before that game. That's not the case now for Marcel. It's completely different circumstance. He understands the preparation of all of it. He understands what that takes. And I thought that was his next step last year. This year, you said consistency. And I think that's going to be next. Those times when he was inconsistent or the offense was inconsistent, you could see him last year say, oh, look, that's all my fault. When they're down 30-3 to South Carolina and they're in the locker room, everybody expected Mike Elko to rant and rave. In that locker room at halftime, it was Marcel Reed and Torian York who talked to the team, not Mike. Now, Mike did have his say, but it wasn't this big thing. That's the leadership to me, where after that game, both of them said, look, we apologize to the 12th man. That first half is unacceptable. Now, when that first half starts happening, that's where Marcel needs to be. That consistency has to be closer to 100%. I know that's not possible, not in the college game, but instead of it being a half, can it be just a drive or maybe two drives and then get back to it? Look, here's what's made Marcel a better quarterback, and not a shot at all at Marcel. And I think one of the reasons why he was never this celebrated quarterback like other quarterbacks in the country. So it's like, oh, where did he come from? And I get that's where the doubt comes from him. But Jimbo took him from Ole Miss. He was going to Ole Miss, and Jimbo got him. When he came on campus with Haynes King, with Connor Wigman, there's Marcel Reed, and he said he's going to be the best out of all of them. Not right now. He will be the best out of all of them. So I saw Jimbo in December when he was working for ACC Network. I said, Jimbo, I've never forgotten that about Marcel Reed, is that he said, look, you could see the talent. More than anything, you could see how he worked. But for me, here's what makes Marcel better. KC Concepcion. There's no mistake when you have an NFL wide receiver. Can you get him the ball? Right. And there's a play that will always stick out to me. And this is that part of that maturation and learning in the grasp is in Missouri in that game on the road. It really was just a signal between the two of them of what they had seen from the Missouri defense. And at the line of scrimmage, he called the middle screen and KC took it to a touchdown. I think he has that with Mario Craver. I think he has that with Isaiah Horton. I think he has that with Ashton Bethel-Roman. He may not have had that, but reps together, not just on the practice field. What are you doing on the 7-on-7? What are you doing in your own time? When he was a freshman, the D linemen would always get together and they would get some food and they would watch film together, just the D line. Marcel walks by that room and says, "Hey, can we watch film with you?" It wasn't in a mean way, but they said, "Look, this is for the D line." So Marcel said, "You know what? I'm going to do that with the quarterbacks." That's just the little things. Like, how does a guy improve? Sometimes you have to see what they're doing off the field and that relationship. That's what I think makes him special. I really do. Look, the talent is there. Remember, he can't throw the deep ball. Again, you got Mario Craver running under it. You got KC. Yes, he can. You know what I mean? And I think that wide receiver group, and you have to have all SEC talent. You have to have NFL talent at your skill positions. You have to have game breakers. He's a game breaker also, whether it's with the arm or definitely with his legs. I think that's what makes him so dangerous. Can he be consistent now for 13 weeks? That's going to be what's next for Marcel.
They definitely have a new look along the offensive line, which will be important, not just for Marcel, but for the offense. And in the trenches, it's so much about just reps together. Those five guys, or maybe there's a couple that get a bunch of snaps, but they've got to play together to find that rhythm. What have you seen so far in practice that indicates that this newly built O-line is ready to go?
There is one starter coming back, and that's your center in Mark Naboo. But when you look at that line, it has SEC experience because Tyree Adams comes from LSU, and he's at left tackle. He's replacing a great one and a consistent one in Trey Zune. And on the right side is Wilkin Formby from Alabama. They've been through SEC. They faced SEC defensive linemen. Cohen Eccles, I think, has a shot. It's either going to be he or Trovon Ball from South Carolina. So an LSU guard, a South Carolina guard as well. And I think at the left guard, it might be Blake Ivy, who will be in his third year in this program and learn from the Chase Basantases of the world about how to be a guard. I think that's one step to being important, having that SEC experience and what it's like so you're not overwhelmed. But to your point, I think any offensive line takes some time. How quickly does it gel? I think it also helps that it's a deep tight end room. Now, I have asked offensive linemen if tight ends are a sixth offensive lineman. The offensive linemen, the tight ends say, yes, we are. The offensive linemen said, no, they're not, because they don't have to do everything that we do. They just have to block everywhere.
You can pick and choose when you block.
Yeah, they ain't blocking when they're going to be catching the ball, right? But they are a sixth offensive lineman, and there's experience there as well at tight end, and I think that helps. I think another part of the success for A&M was the wide receivers, and obviously the running backs. The wide receivers weren't afraid to block. And as great as KC Concepcion was, he was a blocker. So, Amy, I'll tell you what they covet on this team is what Mike calls the men of the 10. You know who took the ball into the end zone. What are the other 10 doing? Did you make that play? So in that part of film, he's pointing out not the ball carrier. We can all see that. Who in that men of the 10? And then that became the coveted t-shirt that you got. I love that type of togetherness. Like they're fighting, and now it's like, I made that block. I did that.
Nice.
And when your superstars are doing it, isn't that even more? Like
yes.
You can do that. Like KC's an elite route runner, but he also did that. And I'm excited because Mario Craver saw that for a year. Terry Bussey saw that for that year and understands what did it take for him to get to Cleveland? Doing all of this. So if I want to do that, let me do the same things. And I think that will be part of the legacy for the KC Concepcions, for the Torian Yorks, the Trey Zunes, the Will Lees, at cornerback. That's going to be their legacy of here's how we got to 11-2. Now you guys take us the rest of the way because there's still some unfinished business.
So I married into a family that's split. Now, I would say there are more family members who are Longhorns, including my husband, but there are a few Aggies. And so I get it from both sides. And the games watching with them, hysterical. I feel like I landed right in the middle of some type of a plot, like a movie plot. Anyway, it really is a battle. And obviously, anybody who lives in Alabama or understands Ohio State, Michigan, any of those long-standing established rivalries, goodness, you know that it runs deep.
Mhm.
The Aggies have not beaten the
Mhm.
Longhorns in football since 2010. How do they get over that hump, Andrew?
They need to be more physical. I thought they got out physicaled in the last two games, and they weren't great in the first half, but that game was close, and it came down to the final 30 minutes, and Texas was more physical. I thought Miami was more physical in the playoff game. And that's what makes that rivalry of all rivalries, right? It's the time of the year that it happens as well, where everything gets magnified. Now, the Aggies had done so much that they were still in the college football playoff. And as Aggies will remind Longhorns, Texas was on the outside looking in last year. But you know what it's like. Like they all circle Mike Elko's first year. He not only has Notre Dame as the first game, but all he's asked in the offseason was, tell me about Texas. He goes, we've got 10 games to go until then. How much it means, right? That's how much it means. I truly don't believe this. If you went 1-11 and the only team you beat was Texas, there's not an Aggie who would be happy. Not at all. Like it would take a little bit of the bitterness away, but that's an awful season. You know what I mean? But it does mean more. And it has meant more in this state. It meant more because it went away. It meant more because the Aggies, I need to say this, they made the right move going to the SEC. And 13 years later, here comes Texas and Oklahoma. Understanding in this world, it changed in 2012. And everything that was revolving and not getting into history, they were all going to the Pac-12 and then realized, no, we need to look east, right, for Texas A&M. And because the SEC success, that helped A&M. It helped A&M's entire athletic department grow. Now, because of that absence, the other sports were playing, the absence of football. And the combination of the rivalry, what it means, usually it was for the Southwest Conference or for the Big 12. It was Thanksgiving. It was a national rivalry as well. For it to be missing and come back made that night at Kyle even more special on a season where it was electric there. And you finally felt that when we went back to Austin last year. There was so much on the line for that one. And yeah, that's why I say it's unfinished. Like that first year, they win 8 games, but they did not play well in November. It cost them a chance to go to the SEC championship in Atlanta. Same thing. They don't go to Atlanta. They're knocking on the door. And you can argue about, is it better to go to the championship or not? I think it's important for A&M because they've never been there. And I think that would be an important milestone. And again, this is what we play for. But they did get to the playoff. To me, like last year's mantra was finish, and they were better in November, but it's still unfinished. And that's why I feel is that the chip on the shoulder of the guys coming back going, we left at least 90 minutes on that field. How do we play even better for 90 minutes? And I get it. Miami had it's a great team. It hurt on December 20th, but you're watching going, that's a pretty good team. But if you beat Texas, you're in the SEC championship and you're not a 7 seed.
Right.
The difference in that loss was playing James Madison or Miami. Those are the little details. So is that an extra rep in the weight room? Is it going to stay a little later? Do it. I call it the work in the dark, Amy. What's the work that you're going to do in the dark? What's the difference between you being a second teamer or now you're with the ones? It's that work that you do and competing every single day. To me, good season last year, unfinished. And let's see what they do this year. And it's going to be different for every SEC school. It's now 9 games in conference.
Right. So different. As it continues to grow and expand, they've got to be able to accommodate all the different rivalries and matchups and TV contracts and everything else. So, Andrew, my one experience going to a Texas A&M game at Kyle Field actually happened 20 years ago, but it was back when Bob Stoops was the coach of Oklahoma, and they were one of the top teams in the country, and they played at Kyle Field. So I was there covering covering it for my local radio station in Oklahoma. And I will never forget the experience. The stands look like they're swaying with the 12th man.
Mhm.
And so I was down, I was actually watching from a short bleacher in the end zone. So different setup now, but I was down there kind of field level, and I'll never forget how incredible the atmosphere. I'm determined to get back there this year. But for people who've not been, what is it like to be there for a home game and to call a home game
Oh,
for the Fightin' Aggies?
yeah. My first game in the booth when they ran out, and it sways, and that's when you're thankful that this is an engineering school. So, but my partner Dave Elmendorf, who's done it, this will be his 35th year, looked at me, goes, "Can you feel it swaying?" And that's chill inducing. And whether it's a Saturday night, it can be whatever. I think it's a bucket list stadium. It's not the only one. I am not one of those people. I'm really not. But if you are a college football fan, I truly believe you need to experience that. I remember our second game, my first year here, our second game was we were hosting Clemson and meeting Clemson fans. And then we went there the next year. Love that place, by the way. I think that's it. That's another one. But it was the respect between both fan bases, because you go to Clemson and they're also very welcoming to visiting fans, especially when you buy in and you want to take in the experience. But you're seeing tailgating for miles because it's different at Clemson, and it's all over. And the tailgating around Kyle Field, and you're welcome, even if you are a visitor. Welcome, come over. We've got stuff for you. I think it's one of those. I really do, and I think a Saturday night at Kyle Field is really, really special. From Amy, when you think about it, it's a student section that has 38,000 students in it. That's larger than some stadiums, and they're there. And they're standing and they're into it. This isn't, you don't have to tell Aggies and the 12th man it's third down. They know there's a different buzz there. But Amy, doesn't that come from having the wrecking crew, in the history? Like the echoes of that should always be a part of it. But look, I got to do a game in another bucket list place last year, Notre Dame. I spent the whole day on campus. Like I'm walking around and I'm seeing Touchdown Jesus, and I'm at the grotto and I'm like, I can see how a kid comes here to play. It was wonderful. And they were great. And to go to LSU on a Saturday night is special. I hate it because it's eerie, right? But you know why else you hate it is because they're sending 29 players to the NFL. It's the team on the field is also really good. But, Bryant Denny taking on Alabama, like those are special. Florida's loud, right? Georgia, great place, even though we've only been there once. South Carolina at night is different, like the SEC. But I also know that Penn State's another great place. Talking to the Auburn guys in a whiteout, and growing up in Pennsylvania, you were a Penn State fan, and being there, in Happy Valley, like you say, Michigan, Ohio State, those rivalry games, I'm leaving some out. Kyle Field belongs in that. I just think it's an outstanding experience for 60 minutes of football. I don't think you have to rely. You add the electronics and you add some of the lights, but it's not what drives you. I think there's a lot of the attention to what's on the field. There's a lot of attention, to it's not just, how we're getting into the entertainment part. Entertainment's, it's important, but what's happening between those yard lines and just that experience of, I always joke, it's 100,000 of your closest friends coming together. And yeah, when it sways, it's something special for sure.
Absolutely. So I cannot wait to get back there again this season. But you're right. If the product on the field is not good, not compelling, not successful, then the buzz only goes so far and the experience is very different. I don't want to keep you for too much longer. However, I want to say congratulations to you for winning the NMSA Sportscaster of the Year. You got presented by Sean McDonough. Saw the photos. You clean up nice there, Andrew. So congratulations. But really, though, what was that whole experience like for you as someone who's been in the business for such a long time to be recognized? I know it's humbling, but how awesome.
It's the honor. Amy, you'll know when I say this. It's an honor now to be included with those names who have won in Texas before. My joke is I'm just borrowing it from Brad Sham and Eric Nadel. That's all I'm doing. You know what I mean? Brad wasn't happy with me when I said that because he just won't. Look, he's got his own booth, in Arlington. No, that was the honor. it's a competitive state. There's a lot of great broadcasters here. I had been part of it the year before. I had been nominated. Winning's way better.
It is an honor to be nominated, but winning is way better.
But it was because when we changed the booth, so Sean's over, he would be when he came in to do the Miami game, and you see him throughout the season and catching up, but I really don't know Sean. But we talked just before that Miami game, and he said something at the end of the phone call that really I really appreciated. And I didn't see him until the ceremony in Greensboro, and it gave me an opportunity to thank him for the very kind words. And look, I have so much respect for him because, look, he's an absolute giant. And I looked at that like, Dave Gorin's going to hate me. Like, what took you so long to honor Sean, going in that Hall of Fame? And he's just outstanding. And the reason why I say that, Amy, is I know a couple of cameramen on the crew, and there's a couple audio guys who have worked, but 2 have been on his crews. They've now moved to Monday Night Football and said he was outstanding. And in our business, there's some egos in our business. I don't think Sean has one. And he knew everybody's name, and he would, even in the offseason, knowing the families. That resonates with me because that's how it should be. Because I don't know how we can have an ego. Babe Ruth was traded. You think Monaco's staying?
No one's irreplaceable, right? No one's irreplaceable.
But I wanted to go out because, you're honored that Sportscaster of the Year, you get nominated by your peers. And that says an awful lot to me. And it is. I'm honored to be included. And I hope that there's a young broadcaster who looks at that and goes, man, if Andrew can win it, I got a shot. So we'll go with that. No, but just to be on that list is really overwhelming. And when they reach out, the people who reach out, sometimes that means even more. But it was also nice to catch up with some friends from around the country that I don't get to see all the time and do that. So it was really a couple of great nights there in Greensboro, and I am thankful and appreciative of the honor.
Oh, well, and now the work begins again, Andrew. Practices outside and getting ready for kickoff at another season. But it's so good to connect with you. I know you have a lot going on right now. Congratulations on the honor. I would agree with you. Nomination is fun, but winning is way better. And I will see you this year. I'll come by and visit your booth, but also
please do.
I will be able to connect in person. It's been a lot of years, but it's fun at least to be able to see your face while I talk to you.
And good luck with this. I love this show. I love this. And I have nothing but respect and love for you as well. I look forward to seeing you really, really soon.
Thank you, Andrew. Great to talk to you. Yeah. Good stuff. And yes, congratulations to him. The NMSA is a very well-respected broadcast organization, sports media organization. And so for him to be nominated and to win, courtesy of his peers in the very large state of Texas, is an honor. And then he mentions Brad Sham, who is the longtime voice of the Dallas Cowboys, and Eric Nadel, who is the longtime voice of the Texas Rangers. Those 2 guys, they're iconic. So yeah, to be included in that company and to win is pretty amazing.